Hello everybody, we have a laptop here from 1989 and I'm pretty sure it works except for the floppy drive. This thing uses 9.5 volts and in Tandy fashion it has the positive on the outside. So one of the things I've done is I've made one of these cables up, put a little hot glue on there just to make sure it doesn't come loose, but I made one of these cables up that has the banana plugs to connect it to my bench power supply. And so what's nice about that is, you know, all I'll do is I'll put the black on the red and the red on the black and bring that over to my power supply here, which you can't see. I'm gonna turn it on, set it for 9.5 volts, let it balance out a little bit, plug it in, and let's see what we got. Turn this bad boy on. 640K of RAM, man, that thing is quick. And we are in Personal Deskmate. Now, yeah, you can actually see that pretty good. This is something that, you know, back in the 80s and stuff like that, all the Tandy computers had, and sort of like their version of Windows before there was really a popular Windows out there. And this thing also has DOS in ROM, which means that you just come out here and you drop to a DOS prompt, and that is where I think we're going to hear that the disk doesn't work. Doesn't sound great. But that said, I think it's going to have a C drive or something on here. It's been a long time since I've messed with this. Yeah, it's got a C drive, and that is the ROM. So that's actually in a chip. You see that's why it actually says 0 bytes free. But you get the very basic DOS stuff. You can format stuff and copy disks and go back into Deskmate and all that kind of stuff. So the only reasonable thing to do is to tear this thing apart and see what we can do with it. So I'm going to start with the obvious stuff and we'll kind of go from there. I'll start taking out these screws. Whenever you do this, I try to keep an eye on them, make sure that they're all the same size. If something appears to not be the same size, especially on these 80s things, I put it aside because many times computers will have a screw where if you put the front one in the back or the back one in the front, it will just go right through the plastic. So we're going to take this cover off here. I guess it doesn't come all the way off, but as you can see there's a parallel port, serial port, a little bit of corrosion there, and what is this? Oh, this way. This must be the battery. Or I guess it was the battery. Maybe that's the battery. I don't know what this is. Let's take this out. Let's see what we got here. Looks like a battery, the way there's some leakage. Yeah, I mean, nothing really going on there. The battery was here. I don't know what would have been here that would have caused that corrosion. You can see there's a little tiny expansion port down there that, if I remember correctly, was for a modem. And I think that was basically the only thing they sold for this thing was a 2400 baud modem that could go in there. But I do wonder if that slot could be repurposed for something else. I mean, a lot of times things like that are just linked directly to the ISA bus. So looks like we've got 2 more screws here. Okay, so sorry, the camera wasn't running for some of this. I was having some serious issues with a rusted screw back here. I tried everything. I had PB blaster and screw extractors and all kinds of different stuff, and it was just bonded in there. So I'm gonna have some work to do, but I did get the screw out. I took these covers off and took the 4 screws out here. There are a lot of people who tear these things down on YouTube, but they tear down the Panasonic version, and then they all say, oh yeah, it's exactly the same as the Tandy, and it is not. It is a lot different. So anyway, we're gonna lift this thing up. It feels like it's stuck in the front center still. I mean, is there a screw under the space bar? Man, it kind of looks like there's a screw under the space bar. I'm determined to break this stupid thing. Don't want to break this computer. All right, I can't figure out how this thing comes off, so I'm just gonna start spudging. Try from this side. Come on. I'm having one of those days where when the last thing you want to do is break something, you're going to try everything you can to not break something, and then you're going to break something. So I'm going to try a different approach. I'm going to try lifting this whole thing up this way. Okay, hold on. So we got some zip ties back here, some connectors back here. Thought this would just be a fun YouTube video. It looked like it had a couple screws on there. You take it apart, you have a little fun. Maybe you fix a floppy drive and call it a day. No. Okay, so we have this JST style connector in here, wedged in, of course. Oh, come on, there we go. Okay, so I still cannot tell what the freak is keeping the front of this computer on. I don't want to break you. I mean, it's got a clip on the left. Oh, my gosh. Every screw on this thing has fought me. Oh, is that the screen? Can I just take the screen off? Did I just pop it? Okay, so as soon as I get the zip tie cut, I can get rid of the screen, and that's what I want to do, because I'm sick of this thing flopping around. Cut the zip tie, not the wire. Cut the zip tie, not the wire. There we go. All right. Okay, let's get the screen out of the way. Pile of stuff does lazy, relaxing teardowns. Oh my gosh, there's a ferrule. There's a freaking ferrule. Ferrule. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit through the case. It doesn't fit. Freaking pile of stuff sits there and does these nice, relaxing teardowns, drinking beer. And I'm gonna need to just start shooting heroin by the end of this video. I think that's what you do with heroin. Oh my gosh. Oh, freaking A. It's out. Okay, so this piece of crap computer has a piece of crap tape over here. We're gonna pull that off, and then we're gonna get rid of this stupid 1980s mandated shield at the top, at least. We need it to screw the stupid screws back in the back of the stupid Tandy. But I'm going to take the keyboard out just so I can see what's underneath the stupid keyboard. Not much. So let's go ahead and pull these out. Try not to break the stupid ribbon cables. And now I'm going to put the freaking keyboard over here. The end of my freaking desk. Got a little board here in the back. The whole purpose of this board is just piss me off. Alright, so we're gonna pull this thing up and throw away that piece of plastic. Here we go, got one more screw over here. That's why they call them screws, because in 1989 when they put this thing in there, they're like, screw the guy that's got to take this stupid thing apart. All right, so we got a motherboard. Now I'd imagine at some point something should happen to make this drive lift up. They can't really possibly expect you to take these screws out on the sides. It's got to lift up, but the motherboard comes over top of the floppy drive, because of course it does. Like, why would you not do that? We've got this other ribbon cable. This is a stupid ribbon cable here, and this is a non-standard cable that means that I can't just put a normal drive in there, and it's pretty tight. That's what she said. Okay, so got that loose. And oh, you know what? I think there's some like tape on the bottom of this thing. I mean, plus this. So we're just gonna bend this out of the way, because forget that thing. Okay, then we've got this tab here that like, I don't see any reason to like, I'll pull the whole motherboard. What the heck? Let's pull it. I don't want to bend the shield up that much. If I could just bend one tab on it, I would. But, and these screws will all definitely, absolutely go back in exactly the place where I found them. I'm keeping them well organized. My mind is clear. Clear heart can't lose, something like that. Remember that? Did you guys watch that show? What was it? Friday Night Lights? It was a good show. I'm not a big fan of high school or college football. I prefer people to play for the right motivations, but overall, I thought that was a really good show. I've also been watching the show All American, a little bit more of a high school drama-y show where they just skip over massive parts of the football season. Don't love that as much. It's a good show. It's all right. It's a way to kill some time. Every once in a while, they kind of go off the rails a little bit, but, you know, it's an okay show. What do you guys watch? Anybody watch anything good? I try not to watch stuff that's too trashy. Try not to pollute my mind too much. That cable, that looks like a JST cable that doesn't actually come off. Let's see here. That looks like a JST connector, like soldered to the motherboard. That's weird. They just soldered the JST connector to the motherboard without like actually putting the other header on there. Of course they did. This one's got a header. See how I can remove that? Because you know why? Because it's got a header. Now that I had to remove literally every single part of the computer to get the one part I need to take out, it's here and taped in. Ew. Ugh. Look at that. That used to be a belt. Used to be. See that? This is the second thing I've opened up recently with a belt that looks like that. Now what's weird is I've actually seen this style of drive before, but this one looks different. Like this Tandy drive I think is different than some of the other ones. I don't even know that I can get this pulley off. That's a problem. I might be Goteking this thing. We'll see. All right, well, I'm going to take a look at this floppy drive, see what I can figure the frick out. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is this looks like some kind of rotary encoder. I don't know if you can see up there, but or some kind of optical sensor that's reading the pulses of this wheel, and so it's got belt stuck to it on the underside. And the problem with that is you need these things to spin at a very fixed, smooth speed. And so if you've got belt stuck to the pulley, one, it may not ride right, but also it may tear up the new belt, and also it may cause it to kind of jitter a little bit to where when it gets to the part of the bump, it speeds up or slows down. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get this crud off. And I don't even have a plan to get a belt yet. So, and in fact, yeah, we'll figure that part out later. But I want to try to get this as clean as possible so that we can see if a replacement belt's even possible on this freaking drive. All right, so I've had a little time to calm down. In the meantime, I accidentally set a PCB on fire in the toaster. That's a whole story I've got a video about. But I had an idea. Go for this. And I thought they must have some kind of universal belt kit, and apparently they do. And so on Amazon, something like this, I think is like $9 for 50 of them. And you can get a whole lot of different quantities. I kind of went as a combination of quantity and quality and variety, and this seemed like the best fit. I'll put a link in the description, especially if it works. But I need to find a belt that fits this. So getting this thing on without twisting it has actually been a little bit harder than I was expecting, and so I'm going to try this. I think this might be the best way to do it. We'll see. Okay, so I think I got it. I watched a couple videos from some cassette repair guys, and they didn't seem to care about a little twist in the belt. I mean, they didn't put it on there all crooked, but you know, I saw a bunch of their videos had an individual twist or something on a belt. So I feel pretty good about mine. Now I have no idea if this is going to work, but we're going to give it a shot. And having this whole collection of belts is actually kind of a cool thing. So we'll see. I'm sure as these things age, there's going to be more of them that I can use it with. And also just to know that I think universal might be the way to go. All right. Is that hitting anything? Okay, that's good. I'm going to at least temporarily put this thing together and we'll see what we got. I decided that while these things were relatively organized, I have one shot to get them together where I put something through the middle of all of them, because that will allow me next time I want to grab one of these things to have an idea of the relative size of them. So I got this thing in a previous mailbag video. This little cat that you can put the tongue through here and pull it, and now I at least have a hook of these, so when I want to get some out, I can try to get a gauge of how one compares to the one next to it in size. All right, so as you can see, I've got the laptop in an exploded view here. There's no YouTube recreations on this channel. We just got it sitting out here, and what I've done, I've used some Deoxit. If you don't have some of this stuff, you definitely need to get some. It will, I put it in all the little ribbon sockets and these little sockets here, and what that allows it to do is to do a little bit of deoxidation, but it also acts as a lubricant. And these little ribbon cables are very fragile, and you don't want to crack them and things like that. So getting a little bit of lubricant in there, letting it do its job for a little bit, will allow it to just go in nice and smooth. So I think we're about ready to fire this thing up and do our initial test. All right, we've got something on the screen, still have 640K of memory, and we are in DeskMate. Down to exit, enter, enter. All right, and we are at the DOS prompt, and I'm gonna, I did make a 720K DOS disk, so we're gonna put that in there and see if it works. Haha, it works! Check that out. I mean, it's a little loud, but it works. Try, all right, copy fdisk, what is it, .exe? .exe to fdisk.back, and that will tell us if this thing can write. All right, and dir. We have fdisk.back, so we can read, we can write. This thing works. All right, now the question is, can I put it together, and can I fix the area over here that you can't really see? Let me see if I can get it in the picture. If I can fix this area from that screw that was all jacked up. So, I'm gonna start putting some stuff together. Okay, so this gives me an opportunity to test something I've always wanted to test. I've seen a few other YouTubers do it. I think Gadget Reboot and Tech Tangents and some of those other guys. But I tried unbelievably hard to not mangle that plastic, and I could stick a washer over it, but I think I want to try to do a repair. And I am going to try the baking soda and super glue method. And so what I'm thinking is I don't want to break this anymore, so I'm going to try to work on it upside down, and let's see what we can come up with. All right, so as you can see here, I'm sticking a bolt where the hole should be for this thing to make sure I don't fill in that area, and then I've put tape around here to both stop it from getting in the grooves and to kind of give me something to allow this to sit on. You'll see what I'm doing in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and use some of these clamps to gently allow this thing to balance so I don't have to keep holding it, and we'll get the camera in a place where you can see it well. So I'm going to put one of these clamps going in each direction and just use them as sort of stabilizer bars. All right, so I put some Venom steel gloves on. Love these things. And the idea with this is that we are going to put layers of super glue and baking soda, and they will bond together and make something that is just as strong, if not stronger, than the original plastic. Now it's going to drop a little bit low because I can't make a perfect form here, but the idea is that you just start off with some super glue, and I think we're just going to sprinkle, and you sprinkle some baking soda and get that smooth out there and give it a little bit to dry, and then repeat it over and over and over again until you build up enough to replicate the plastic. Okay, so this is the initial way that it looks, which is not pretty, but it does appear to be pretty strong, and we're going to find that out by filing on it. I mean, yeah, that's incredibly strong. I don't think it's just going to break off. I think I'm really going to have to sit here and shape this thing. So what I want to know is how much of a problem it is to have this stick out a little bit extra. Is that going to be in the way? Because I might want the extra strength out here. It actually doesn't seem like that extra material is really in the way. So I might actually bridge that up here a little bit and just kind of square it off, as long as all the covers seem to fit. Well, that is not the absolute prettiest repair ever, but it is complete, and it is very, very strong. So I may wind up touching that up with some retro paint, but for the most part, I'm pretty dang happy with that. Okay, so this machine was an absolute pain in the butt. This screw back here was terrible. I had to replace some screws with my own. I need to clean up some of this brown stuff from just a little rust and stuff over here. But overall, that's not bad. I mean, it could be better, but for my first attempt at that, not bad at all. As far as the computer itself goes, I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. It'll probably just kind of sit here on the shelf as a museum piece, but it is nice to know that I think the floppy drive is just going to work. So this thing boots really fast. We're going to come in here, we're going to exit out of DeskMate and hit enter and dir, and dang if that floppy drive doesn't work. So we do have a successful repair. It wasn't fun, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I persevered, and really I'm just glad to know about things like those universal packs of belts. Of course I'll have the links to those in the description, but that's just so handy. And now next time a floppy drive breaks, I most likely won't have the right size belt, but it'll be nice to know that I have 100 of them to try. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching, and happy Septandy.